Well, I just love this time of year. There's something about coming to the end of a year filled with all kinds of, challenges and accomplishments, um, and moving into the new year, the turning of the wheel, as it were. And it's also around the time of my birthday, which is January 3rd. So there's something about, coming to the end of the year that I really love. And I do a ritual every year which I feel really helps me to move into the new year, unscathed or, more open than I may have been if I didn't go through this ritual. So I invite you to take this little mini workshop with me. You can watch this video and you can put it on pause. In fact, that's probably what I recommend that you do is to, put it on pause and go through the exercises that I go through. So what we're going to do is we're calling it Playing the Game of 2017 Part 1, which is really about completing with 2016. Because what I believe has been my experience is that if we take what worked about the previous year and just really let go of what didn't work, we can then imagine really with a clean slate what it is that we choose to invite in the coming year. So that's what we're going to do. And again, I encourage you to, put it on pause and do the exercises as I, lay them out, or you, of course, can, do them in whatever way that you want to. I invite you to put your own spin on it. So the reason why I call it Playing the Game of 2017, well, the reason why it's a value for me to start out the new year with a sense of play is because I have found over and over that if I can move forward in my life and attracting the things that I want with a sort of attitude or a mental posture of sincerity, meaning I'm sincere about what it is that I want to attract, but I'm not terribly serious about it. I used to spend the beginning of each year, making these lists of things that I wanted to create or invite into my life. And, I felt that if I made the stakes really, really high, and if I made it really serious, that if I did not accomplish this, that I would be, I would have failed. I used to believe that that was, a fire that would get me motivated, but using my own, years of experience playing this, doing, this, playing the game of manifestation, if you will, I have definitely seen the empirical evidence is the more serious I take it, the less likely it is that things come to me. Or if they do come, it's a much less likely that I will enjoy them. So that's why I am lately all about seeing the whole thing as a game. And just the same sort of playful attitude that we have when we are taking on a game. And so the benefits that I see is that there's always going to be stress, unless you opt to live at the top of a mountain somewhere, you're going to have stress. But it's a different kind of a stress when you say, yeah, you know what, there's these things that I want to invite in my life, that I have these goals, if you will. But and they are going to engender stress, but not bad stress. A little bit of stress is a good thing. And when you have a sense of play, and when you see it as a game, you're definitely more aware of what's happening here and now. And let's face it, if you're not aware of, putting your awareness into the here and the now, then the goals really are kind of, it's a moot point. Like, what's the point of even accomplishing any of your goals if you're not going to be present to experiencing them? The other thing is that I have found that there is a level of sort of magnetics. Like there's a kind of, sometimes I imagine there's like a magnet in my gut that is attracting the people and the circumstances that I envision I want to attract or that I want to see happen in my life. And I have found that a sense of play is definitely it sort of charges up my magnet, if you will, and then you're just happier. And really, if you're not about finding more happiness, and however you define that, for me, I define happiness really as acceptance, or as peace of mind. If you're not being led to more of a sense of peace, then really, what's the point of any of it? So I invite you to think of the coming year, 2017, as a game in which you are playing volleyball with some of your oldest and dearest friends in Hawaii, and you do want to win. You do set out to try and get that ball over the net. You do want to, score a point. But if it turns out that you miss, you're already having fun anyway. So if you could hold that image in your mind, volleyball with your best friends, as you move toward whatever it is that you want to see come into your life in 2017, it's been my experience that you're going to charge up your magnet much better. So the way that we play this game of part one, it's really in two parts. Part one is completing or closing up, if you will, 2016. You have to start by really just going back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning of 2016. And if you have your, in the olden days, we used to have what you call a day timer. But if you have your Google Calendar or any kind of a calendar where you can look and see, take the helicopter, the bird's eye view of 2016, and go back to January. And what I like to do is, see if I can remember what it was like when I first decided to, begin the year. What was I up to then? What was going on? What were some of the things that at the turn of moving out of 2015 into 2016 that you wanted to see happen? What were you hoping for? What was your mindset back then? And you can think about that again. I invite you to put this on pause and go ahead and get your calendar, whatever you want to do, and just go ahead and and think about what was going on. Where were you at? You can also use this wheel if you need a little bit of prompting. This is the wheel of a basically balanced life in our modern times. Your career, money, which are often not the same thing for people, your health, your platonic relationships, your romantic life, your personal growth, your inner life, and your just fun recreation, just turning off the mind and having a good time, going on vacation or whatever it is, and then your physical environment, your car, your home, your office, etc. And just take a look at this wheel and see if it prompts you to think about where were you at a year from now? What was your mindset? What were you hoping for? So the first thing that we do is we look at the losses, the expectations that we had that weren't met, and then the disappointments. And this can be, I keep a nice cup of tea, soothing tea nearby, because this can be very confronting to go ahead and explore and look at that. You're to do this exercise and get the most out of it, you're really gonna have to go there, go to that place that doesn't feel so great, and look at, what didn't happen, what didn't work out, what was frustrating about it, and what did you started out really being so sure what business deal was going to happen, or what thing that you thought you were for sure was you were going to accomplish, and then that didn't happen. What was the biggest challenge that came up this year? How did it turn out? And I suggest that you do it. You just write it like a debriefing, almost like a robot was interviewing you, and keep the story out of it. It's going to be really, really tempting to add a lot of stuff about who did what and why it was that didn't work out, etc. But I encourage you to take a piece of paper, and probably not one in a journal, but something that could be a separate piece of paper, and just write down what just the facts. you know my examples here is, I did not finish all of my intended creative projects. I did not travel as much as I had hoped. These are actually just not my examples, but they're examples throughout the years from other people who've done this. I didn't work out at the gym as much as I had hoped. Just try and keep it very, very dry and more like a list. And so I encourage you to go ahead and, again, put this on pause and uh, just write down a debriefing of your unmet expectations and your disappointments for the year of 2016. And once you've done that fun exercise, um, I encourage you to go in and take a look at places, corners where you're holding back an open heart. Uh, the open heart is what feels so good in this lifetime. The Beatles sang about it. We all know that love is the answer, but it's very real. It's a very practical and realistic, uh, it's grounded in truth, that when you are in touch with a sense of love, and you can call it, that love has many different faces. You can call it compassion, you can call it patience. When we are not in touch with that space of the heart, it does squeeze the energy. And we all do it. We all squeeze the energy. We all get resentments. We all get mad at God, or often ourselves. And I encourage you not to use this exercise as a way to judge that, because then that just becomes you know impacted. But acknowledge the fact that I'm carrying some resentments. For many people, it may be, the recent election may be a resentment, someone that you have a resentment toward. We won't name names. Again, it's often us that we have the resentments against. But I encourage you to just go and take a look at who are you mad at, and go ahead and write it down, and then take a look at what the value might be in foregoing judgment, letting go of these resentments. And again, this is not the goal of this is not to have you stuff your feelings, um, to feel spiritual or to feel loving, because certainly stuffing your feelings has never worked for anybody. All it does is, all those feelings do is get subterranean, and they find a way of coming out somehow. But for the sake of closing out the year and starting fresh, it's good to take a look and see where are the places that you are willing to forgo judgment. The word forgive, basically, I interpret that in my mind as forgo judging. There may be people in this exercise that you're just not going to forgo judging them. You're just not able to. You're not ready to, and that's fine. But if there are places where you can forgo judgment, where are they? You know, if you can find those little corners that may normally have just found their way traveling into 2017, but you're catching them now and you're saying, you know what? Can I forgive myself for this? What would be required for me to stop judging myself? around this particular issue? What would be required for me to stop judging my mother or my spouse? You know, and and again, this is an exercise of ritual that we're doing. It doesn't mean that we're expecting that forevermore you're not going to, grab that resentment back. You may wind up forgiving him whose name we dare not speak, and seeing and a week from now or 5 minutes from now being, you know what, I take that back. I don't forgive that person. So the the exercise right now as we're doing this is, what am I willing to forego? Who am I willing to forego judgment on? What corners do I feel I can do that on? And one of the things that I have found helps me to forego and let go of these judgments that I often have is I look at, well, what did I get out of it that I couldn't have learned any other way? How did it shape me? How did it make me, be a better person? I mean, I can say that, again, for not to spend too much time on the whole political thing, but for him whose name I dare not speak, I have learned that I really do care about this country. And I really didn't quite know that until I saw someone, finding their way into an election who I think is so not suited to the role. And I discovered this year all kinds of things that I didn't know about myself. And that wouldn't have happened if the election hadn't been that way. And that's just one of so many examples for me in 2016. So there is always great value in sounds crazy, but judging, being judgmental. There's actually a great curriculum in there if you're willing to look at it. If you're willing to say, well, yeah, I'm willing to forego that. I'm willing to let go of that and get off of my point of view and my position. And also great value in saying, yeah, nope, I'm not going to, and this is why. I just can't do that yet. And if you're willing to look, everything has a learning. Everything has a curriculum in there for learning if what you're interested in is being truly, more and more truly authentic and real, then everything can be used. So now to the more fun stuff. The ritual also, thank God, includes listing the wins and the accomplishments. Taking a look at what worked. What were the things that really stood out as well? You know what? I really did that. I really did that. I put myself in a place of risk, and I stuck my neck out, and I learned something great, and I feel a sense of true accomplishment for having done that. Or, that thing just came completely out of the sky and landed on my lap, and it was like a miracle, but it was great. I actually did laid the seeds of being prepared to receive a miracle like that. So making these very sort of cut and dried, not too much story. Here are some examples of, I was more forgiving of my parents. I was a better listener to my child. Actually, these are examples from me doing it. I wrote 8 new songs and sang them in 6 cities, and that's something that I've wanted to do my whole life. And it wasn't until this year that when I was 54 that I allowed myself to write music and sing, which is something I've always wanted to do. And so, just putting that down and writing it all, you can put this on a different piece of paper, or you can put it in on one piece of paper that you have divided down the middle, unmet expectations and disappointments on the left, and and accomplishments on the right, whatever you want. And so go for it. This may be a prompt that helps you. Again, here's the wheel of life to take a look at. Where did you have some wins? So now this is the part where I encourage you to let it all go, to burn it, to get a coffee can or something metal, ideally, and just take it outside, unless you've got a fireplace burning wherever you are, and burn them. Just let them go and watch them burn. Even your wins, burn that list up, and your unmet expectations, put it in the fire. There's something very powerful about fire and the way that it takes something and turns it into something else. The alchemy of turning something into dust, turning it into ashes. And there is a psychological um, uh, sort of imprint that happens, or a soul imprint that happens when we do this ritual of literally burning these thoughts, burning away the past, because even the clinging to the good stuff can keep you from being present. Sometimes I found myself, having a memory or accomplishing something, and I just keep playing that memory over in my mind of that great accomplishment that I think that I did. And it's kind of like taking a really fine, fine wine, and you pour a glass and you go, oh no, that was so good. That tasted so good. But now the bottle is not full anymore, and adding water into the bottle and drinking another glass and adding more water. You don't want to water it down. We have to have the courage to not only let go of the past that felt yucky, which for many of us, that's, we're eager to do that, but we also have to let go of the wins too. Not the lessons that we've learned. We bring that with us. We because there's nothing, we can't not bring those lessons with us, because they make such a important imprint on who we are. They form us. We take those away. But in terms of moving forward, it's really powerful to just burn away the past and say goodbye, you know, say adieu, uh, and then you can really freely move on more to the next year. This was part one of the ritual, and part two of the ritual is envisioning in 2017. And I'll be doing that live in Stone Ridge, New York, in upstate New York, on Sunday, January 8th, 2017, of course. And it's you can register at dougmotel.com if you want to join us in that. We'll actually be doing both part one and part two, and I may do another video for part two, possibly. We'll see. But I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to it, because it's not easy or possible even to do this kind of work in a vacuum. We really have to share it. It's like love. So thank you so much, and I wish you a terrific 2017 filled with wonderful surprises.